Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Uncanny X-men Omnibus Volume 3. But today what I kind of want to talk about is not really one particular issue, but rather a collection of issues. So this week in the United States, I believe Thursday, the New Mutants movie is finally going to open. After many delays and setbacks and COVID-19, it's finally here. I actually have a ticket, so I'm going to see it Thursday night and give my thoughts on it. I don't really review movies or shows much that often, but the New Mutants is kind of special because I've done so many videos on the New Mutants on my channel. And I've kind of gone over both the origins of the New Mutants and a lot of their comic books, but I've never really explained why the New Mutants really exist. I've kind of alluded to it in my really old video back for Marvel graphic novel number 4, which is the New Mutants, the graphic novel. But the reason why the New Mutants exist is because of the Uncanny X-men, in this case because of the Brood Saga, which technically spans from 162 all the way to the end of this double issue right here. Holy crap, this is a big... Sorry, I gotta find the end of this guy. You are right here, yeah. So the end of 166, which is a double issue. So overall, the entire Brood Saga of like sort of official beginning to end is about almost like 120 pages of comic book material right there. The actual appearance of the Brood, the alien scum that we're going to talk about right here is issue, I believe it's issue like 155, which is, yeah, 155 is the first appearance of the Brood, these disgusting creatures. But 162 is really the beginning of it. There's actually, ironically enough, the first part of my Magic Origins occurs in between in this whole saga. This was a very interesting time for the Uncanny X-men. We're about 10 to 12 issues removed from when John Byrne left Uncanny X-men in issue 143, I believe. So there's a lot of fill-in artists, and eventually it kind of settled to mainly Dave Cockrum being the artist. And ironically enough, in the middle of the Brood Saga for the Uncanny X-men, Dave Cockrum would leave the series, and you would get, I believe his name is Paul Smith, would take over right after that. Let's see, where are you? You are right here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Paul Smith. And Paul Smith's run on Uncanny X-Men is actually kind of interesting. He didn't have necessarily the greatest relationship with Chris Claremont, which is kind of a reoccurring theme. Though it's kind of funny how Chris Claremont continued to sell an ungodly amount of books regardless of the artists that came in and out. Kind of a funny thing about the Uncanny X-Men. Going on, the Brood are essentially a alien race that basically take over and kill other races and enslave them. And in a way, it's kind of like a take on Alien and the Xenomorphs in a way. And a lot of the issues, such as issue 143 and the Brood themselves, are kind of heavily influenced by that sci-fi of Starship Troopers and Alien. Anyhow, I'm not going to go too much over the plot. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity in any way or form, no judgment, to read the Brood Saga. Totally recommend it, even with the kind of uncanny, no pun intended, artist change in the middle of it. But yeah, the first issue, 162, is mainly a Wolverine story. Very good. You get Wolverine kind of doing what Wolverine does. Next issue, the X-Men kind of have sort of a escape from the Brood, and it's pretty good. There's especially 2 really great scenes in this one with Storm and Carol Danvers. This is after she lost her powers as Miss Marvel, and she's now just Carol Danvers. And through this series, spoiler alert, she actually gains the power of binary, which is, this right here. And then like 165 is actually where we get the artist change to Paul Smith. Very I would say a little jarring, because Paul Smith and Dave Cockrum are kind of significantly different between each other. But overall, especially in the way they draw Storm, like Paul Smith has a particular way of drawing women that is very different from Dave Cockrum. So it might be a little uncanny when you reach 165. And then 166 is the crazy, awesome, double-sized issue finale for this entire series. Really great. Oh my God, it's a great freaking ending. And if you like, Chris Claremont was kind of famous in this era for having more short story formats. Chris Claremont was very good at putting in filler issues that were just solid and would still sell like madness. And it's kind of an explanation for why the Uncanny X-Men just kept selling, regardless of what the storyline was going on. People would just buy them. Didn't matter what the issue number was. It could be 160 or like 1 whatever to 200 whatever. People would still buy Uncanny X-Men because it was just that good. But yeah, the Brood Saga is an example of Chris Claremont doing a long-form sort of epic saga type of storyline, and it's very good. He does a really good job, and technically builds up to this run very slowly in previous issues such as 155, and then even has an addendum issue in 167, which ties both the X-Men and the New Mutants together. But essentially, the X-Men are kind of trapped in space during this entire time. And because they were trapped in space, dealing with the Brood, fighting with the Brood, this is what caused, during this time, Professor Xavier being on Earth, having to get together the New Mutants. The whole purpose of which was to sort of replace the X-Men with a younger team. But what was not said and later revealed in 166, which I talk about in other New Mutant issues, is that the X-Men, or that I should say, Professor Xavier was actually infected by the Brood, and that is kind of why, that was sort of the ulterior motive for why he created the New Mutants, was mainly to have more humans that the Queen Brood could infect and create more Brood, right? Yeah, I'm kind of rushing through it because I really don't want to ruin the plot, especially for people who have never read the Brood Saga. This is actually my favorite X-Men storyline. I actually, believe it or not, like this more than Dark Phoenix and even Days of Future Past, which are sort of like the I guess the seminal Uncanny X-Men stories. But to me, the Brood Saga is amazing. It has like wide-reaching implications too. If you think about what happened because of the Brood Saga, you had both the just a dramatic change in both the personality and the character of Storm. She had a major personality change, just immediately resulting from the Brood and later issues. You also had the change of Carol Danvers, like depowered Carol Danvers, into Binary. Which was actually kind of a cool character. At least more so. For some reason, Chris Claremont really, really liked Carol Danvers, and I think that's because of his time writing the character as Miss Marvel. So I think he always wanted to bring her back to a degree. He also had like great character development moments for all of the X-Men in this run, as is typical of Chris Claremont's run. But more importantly, as I mentioned, it was the creation of the New Mutants was a direct result of the Brood Saga, which is kind of why I'm a little worried about this movie coming up, because the X-Men movies are kind of a hot mess. One of these days I wanted to make a video series because I see a lot of YouTube videos praising certain X-Men movies and then criticizing others, and they always take it from the perspective of a movie fan. Nearly none of the people reviewing the X-Men movies are actual like comic book X-Men fans. Which I find like amazing because if you were a fan of the comic books, the X-Men movies could be entertaining, but in terms of like being faithful to the characters, like every single one of those movies are terrible. Like every single one of them. Even X-Men 1 and 2 are terrible. Days of Future Past is probably the worst, which is amazing to me because so many people praise it. It actually blows my mind that people praise Days of Future Past the movie. Because I'm kind of like, have you read the actual comic book series? You know, or in general, have you watched the other movies and kind of maintained consistency in terms of just within the movie universe itself? Which, I'm not a fan of the X-Men movies. I'm just being honest. I love the X-Men comic books. but not a fan of the movies. And definitely worried about the New Mutants movie, but gonna give it an honest try and see what happens. Some of the images so far have been kind of interesting. Anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Got any comments about the Brood Saga or Uncanny X-Men of this era? Leave it down below, and I will see you next time.